On the previous single, Kachi Kachi Yama, it'd be hard to deny that Gacharic Spin were absolutely in their element. Bright, colourful, having fun and expressing a lot of craziness in the most musically enjoyable and engaging way possible. But with this new follow-up single released today, Replica, they're going for something much darker. There's lyrics to boot, there's a lot of meaning, there's a lot of depth, and we're going to unpack it today. Let's begin. Hi there and welcome back to Japan, where today we're going to be breaking down the song Replica by Gacharic Spin. I always pronounce it wrong. However many times I review them, always get that wrong. Nonetheless, the last song, Kachi Kachi Yama, like I say, was one that I absolutely loved. It probably is my favourite Gacharic Spin song up until this point. So the question is, how does Replica stand up as the next song, really? Now, I really like the fact that this band have got such an interesting sound that you kind of expect them to have variation as well. And so I was really kind of excited when they dropped the teaser to see that Replica was going to be a very different sort of feeling song. I was thinking, if they can nail really happy and really deep, we are in for a very exciting little run of songs, and hopefully a cool album will follow this all up. So the question is, does Replica achieve that? Well, first of all, the best thing probably is to point out the things that Kachi Kachi Yama got right that this also gets right. And I guess the thing that they both get right is probably what you'd most expect from Gacharic Spin, which is that they're well written and played songs with interesting arrangements. Now, both of them are very much based around the bass guitar, which I think is a great thing to do when you've got a band with lots of members, is really have the core rooted in a good bass line, because the bass is obviously that thing that sits between the rhythm and the melody and the harmony. It really is supposed to hold everything together, so a good strong bass line is important, and boy, do they again have one of those. What's quite interesting here, though, is that the mix on the other instruments is mostly quite thin. It's a little bit tinny, but that matches the mood of the song. Everything's kind of supposed to have this almost slightly irritable feel to it. So having the other sounds, especially the guitar, you listen to it, it's quite far back in the mix, but it's kind of got this sort of scratching sound. Yeah, everything feels, like I say, a little bit tinny, a little bit thin, and that really works with that kind of tense sense that the song has. Now, writing-wise, yet again, there's a lot of really interesting things happening here. Just listen to it, your ears have got so much to really get into. But I also like the fact that amongst all of that, they found time to give it another good chorus, just like Kachi Kachi Yama. Now, not every song has to have an amazing chorus, but these are singles with music videos, so that is something we definitely look for here. And boy, it's got another good one. Yeah, Kachi Kachi Yama was kind of next level catchy, but this is certainly more than enough to make you want to come back to it for sort of single replay as well. So overall, on a musical level, this is doing everything you want from it. It's got a good bridge as well with a descending bass line. I love descending bass lines. Don't know why, just some hashtag no bias, just really like descending bass lines. And, you know, the whole song really manages to capture that feeling of sounding slightly tense, whilst also having a lot of layered instruments doing interesting things, and having a chorus that pays it off really well. So, as the song is musically as good as we'd expect from Gacharic Spin, and is one of their more effective songs that really works as a single, let's have a little look more at the mood, because the mood is the thing that's really setting us apart from Kachi Kachi Yama, which is, like I say, was a really great song. So this is going for a slightly more tense feeling. You can tell here that the mood is really talking a lot, as the title suggests, about being a replica, being just another person, being expected to fit in, having to kind of like just choose a whole image that makes you fit in with society and not being able to express yourself, especially when you have something emotionally that you want to let out. Now, this is obviously something that we've seen expressed in a lot of music. Music, especially rock, is a great place to express the wish to be individual and frustrations at society. So this is not exactly breaking any new ground. However, the idea of painting it through that idea of being a replica, we'll get onto how the music video backs it up in just a minute, but that whole feeling of talking about that is very well done. Now, again, there's something about that fast delivery that we expect in these Gacharic Spin songs, and that Angie does so well, that really does help with this as well. I did really enjoy the rap bits on here. Again, like I said in the previous review of Kachi Kachi Yama, sorry I keep on referencing that, but it's an interesting comparison to make. I really like the fact that Angie's whole rap style, it's quick, it's on point, but it does have those little moments where when she deviates a little bit from the rhythm, and you can kind of hear the inflections in her voice, she adds a bit of personality. It always feels like when she's sort of stepping away a little bit from the beat, it's to give a little bit of personality, a little bit of emotion. She expresses herself as well as just delivering sort of rhythmic rap and obviously catchy sung choruses as well. So, in my opinion, I felt that again, she was very good at expressing the emotion, but in this particular song where tension is very key to it, that feeling of being tense, having a lot of pent-up emotion that you want to let out, this is really something where actually, I'd never really thought of it as being the quality that I would go to Gacharic Spin for, but hearing them doing this kind of song with their very quick, very sort of frenetic style, it actually does really match them to do this kind of tense, sort of pent-up, angsty style of music. Like I say, you hear Kachi Kachi Yama and you think, wow, this is a band who are just super happy, super lively, and doesn't this song suit them so well? But then you hear them doing tension and you think, yes, this equally suits your sort of frenetic, tense style. And for me, the lyrics are... they're not groundbreaking, but they're interesting. They paint some nice metaphors, talking, like I say, about the whole replica. She's sort of about talking about which replica I'm going to pick today, number 5, and then at the end of the song, oh, now just on to replica number 6, it's my birthday. Here's just the new me, but it's just another clone of who I've been all along. The idea of not feeling like you're changing, that's all presented. And so, like I say, there's not anything groundbreaking about this. However, the use of the metaphors, the delivery of Angie's vocals, and just the whole way that it's put together, it feels fresh. It feels like a fresh take on a theme that we've heard before, and it definitely suits the Gacharic Spin style of writing and performance. And lastly, of course, this brings us on to the music video, which I thought was really interesting. I must admit that when I first saw the thumbnail, I was thinking, okay, it's animated, so sometimes animated videos don't quite... yeah, maybe they don't sort of move with much energy sometimes. The animated music videos are not always that great. Sometimes they lean a little bit too much towards the animated artsy style and don't engage enough with the music side. And then we saw the teaser, which was very much them performing in a dark room. And I was like, okay, what's this going to be? The way that it came together was really great. Now, that sort of animation style was very Terry Gilliam, which I thought was brilliant. Kind of reminded me, I know this is not the sort of, but you'll get what I mean. I kind of thought a lot of the scenes from the film Brazil, where he's like working in just like the office and that sort of going through the grind thing. And of course, then you think of the connections with Terry Gilliam and sort of the art style that you get more in Monty Python. And so a lot of that connected in my mind. I felt there was definitely a sort of range of inspirations from that sort of Terry Gilliam school of thinking about I'm kind of giving monotony a sort of artistic vibe. And that sounded so art school, what I just said. Please forgive me. I never went to art school. But still, I thought that there was something really interesting about that style. I think it really worked quite well to add something interesting, an interesting visual character to things, but at the same time still conveying that sense of everything being somewhat monotonous. And then having like the little sort of ragdoll figure falling down and things like this. This was really well done. I like the way that they converted between having the sort of the, was it artist doll, the, you know, artist dummy thing, that turning into like a sort of a cartoon rendition of her, and then that turning into the video of her, and the sort of the layers between that sort of nicely connecting the idea of having her as a real person and just this sort of faceless dummy, and, you know, sort of making them into one thing, basically. Yeah, just, although I don't perhaps have the words to properly explain it as it's coming across, I thought visually it was really nice at connecting those things together. Again, it was more about metaphors, a lot like the lyrics. I think that they kind of knew that this is a subject matter that's been covered before, so it was more interesting to sort of just hit the metaphors correctly, you know, give you some imagery that really just sort of comes across and you go, yeah, that conveys the mood. And also it had that most key thing of all, which is it knew it was a music video, so it moved well with the music. The scenes where you were filming the band live, obviously this is a band who are very kinetic anyway, they got a fantastic stage presence, and that was nicely shown in the video, which moved, allowed them to sort of really put their facial expressions in front of the camera, allowed them to, you know, show their sort of performance chops, and at the same time the actual like artistic bits of the music video as well were cutting quickly and keeping pace with those filmed parts as well, so that everything felt natural, it felt cohesive, it went together. The fact that you have a music video that is going between live and animated and having little bits where it cuts in between, it never felt like it was just chopping between two things that didn't match. It felt completely cohesive. I thought this was a very well put together music video. So again, brilliant. So in conclusion, not only is this a really good song in my opinion, but I think it gets something out of the band that we don't get to hear enough. And as well as that, it's a really good indication that the band seem to be going in a great direction. Now, I did say before, I was not a big fan of the album. I think it was Gold Rush. That's an album I keep on coming back to, because for me, that always felt like a point where the Gacharic Spin sound in that album, it just felt like things weren't clicking. It felt messy. It felt like it wasn't quite coming together. And yet recently, Gacharic Spin seems to just be on a whole nother level. Just, I mean, I've heard they've changed record company. I'm not going to say anything about my opinions of the company they've changed between, from what I've heard, but I imagine that they're probably experiencing a great deal of creative freedom right now. And you know what? It's really, in my opinion, coming across. I mean, Mindset was an interesting song, because when I heard Mindset, it was like, okay, it went from Gold Rush, which, like I say, it just sounded like chaotic and not cohesive. Then we got Mindset, where it felt like, okay, this is cohesive, this works, but it's not really Gacharic Spin, you know, sort of doing their best qualities. They kind of just sort of relaxed it back to the simple, and they just kind of made something simple that works. Then we got Kachi Kachi Yama, which, like I say, up to this point is probably my favourite Gacharic Spin song. I just think it's just so full of ideas, so cohesive, fantastic chorus, everything works. And then what was the one thing you can do after that? Well, it's kind of hard to best a song like that, so why not do something different that's equally as credible? And you know what? I think that's what this is. Yes, it might not be quite as catchy, it might not have quite the immediate sort of fun likability, but that's not what it is. It's a song that's supposed to have depth, and it conveys that really well. It does a subject that we've heard before, but that a lot of people feel, and doesn't do it in a cheesy, overdone kind of way. It does it with a sense of freshness. We get to hear their playing style, nice and active, but in a way that it's actually used properly and it feels like it's appropriate for the mood of the song. We get to hear a chorus that's catchy enough to give you a reward, you know, sort of that thing that you can come back to that brings the rest of the song together. And it's got a video that plays really well with that as well. I think that at the moment, between this and Kachi Kachi Yama, they are 2 for 2 on really, really good songs. I'm genuinely very excited. You know, I'm always honest on this channel. I don't kiss ass. And yeah, I'm just really very excited about this. Yeah, I can't wait to hear more. As always, get in the comments then. Tell me what you think. And until I hopefully see you very soon in Japan for the next one of these. For now, ciao, ciao.